So people have drawn parallels between what's happening in financial markets today, the amount of risk-taking, the nature of the risk-taking, the reach for yield, the flood of foreign capital into particularly U.S. financial assets, drawing a parallel between that and what happened before the financial crisis.
Yes.
Now, the conditions look very similar.
Well, we have a lot of debt, but debt has shifted from private to public.
Yes.
Which is worse. Because public debt doesn't go away. Private debt, you can always turn it into equity or punish the people.
You can restructure.
Yeah, exactly. Private debt is generated not by people who are responsible for the debt, but
there
by
is more public
civil
debt,
servants.
but there's still an awful lot of debt on corporate balance sheets today.
They are.
And a growing amount.
Growing, but I'm worried about public debt. My idea is I'd rather be very poor at the timing and good at the hedging. All right. So you want to be
your business.
Yeah, that's my business. But that's also my philosophy in life. Okay. You don't want to try to depend on specific predictions of catalysts for that crisis. It can happen in an hour, or it may take years. All right. But definitely, we are in a precarious situation. I don't know when that malfunctioning plane will crash, but it will eventually crash. So you need some kind of protection from tail hedging that is done intelligently, not like foolishly, or stay out of the financial markets, which is what we recommend people.
Now, okay, so we're actually getting down to the advice part of the conversation. So if you're a professional investor and you want to take risk, you want exposure, you believe that one needs to have tail risk protection, in other words, catastrophe insurance.
If you know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, stay out of it.
Or buy it. You can buy it.
You can. It's not easy because a lot of people think they deliver it and they run out of money quickly or something.
Okay.
It is a very delicate situation. I recommend that individuals stay out of the market.
Pencils down.
Pencils down unless you know how to hedge. All right. And
few people do.
And few people do. Because,
so at this stage of the game, you would recommend that people have no exposure to financial assets?
Listen, you're not obligated to have exposure to financial assets.
Of course not.
It's not prudent.
Well, people want to save for retirement.
I understand, but you want to save for retirement. That's not prudent, because you got to look at both sides of the story. You may end up with no money.
What's the prudent allocation then? If you're at the moment, if you're trying to save for retirement, cash?
What I'm saying is that I engage in financial markets if and only if I have tail hedge protection, and it's done right. Otherwise, don't engage in financial markets.
Even in treasury bonds or bills?
No, especially treasury bonds. Interest rates. The upside from interest, from holding a bond, the upside is limited, and the downside is.
So, at what point in the investment cycle does it make sense for individuals, to hold financial assets?
To hold, I would say I'd rather have very low return or close to no return than have a huge negative return.
Well, sure, catastrophic loss. Nobody can recover from catastrophic loss.
So a lot of people wished in 2007 and 2008. Early 2008, a lot of people wish they had no investments.
What about these poor public pension funds with defined benefits that have to generate, actuarially a 7 or 8% return every year?
Tail risk hedging is necessary for these people, so because the problem is, if you have a crisis, then you have to generate much higher return later. So you need to be able to have higher exposure to risky assets, coupled with more tail risk protection.
So in other words, you need to be able to generate something in the double digits to survive.
In other words, if you have the point that we've looked at markets, what tends to happen is that markets go up and then crash.
And then they crash.
You want, but net they're good, okay? But to be able to sustain a crash,
to live through the cycle,
you could probably take more risk if you have the right protection or the right hedging.
As opposed to being conservative and just trying to generate a consistent 6 or 7 or 8%.
Conservative in the middle doesn't work well. You should have a portion of your portfolio in higher risk, but then have good protection against that high risk done properly. It's not. A lot of people think they can call a broker, buy puts, and it's done. It's much harder than that.